This video clip on the screen right now is not real. The entire thing has been generated in real time by AI. It hasn't required an animator, no rigging and no rendering. The video is a result of the latest project by Microsoft called VESA 1. More on that in a moment. Also this week, Meta releases Llama 3 and Adobe get access to OpenAI's Sora. I'm Obsidian Ant, and this is AI Surge.
It's like something was decided for you, and instead of trying to make something that is done work.
So, only two things are needed to generate these videos: a single photo and an audio reference. I'll play a few more examples as I talk. Now, VESA 1 isn't publicly available, and that's likely a good thing, as there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of positive use cases for this tech at the moment, and a lot of potentially very bad uses. That said, perhaps a key positive use for this, and that seems to be Microsoft's goal, will be to give AI models such as ChatGPT a human face. Another interesting detail about VESA 1 is that it is possible to control the key parts of how you want the video to play out. For example, you can request specific emotions, or you can have the character face in different directions, or even appear to make eye contact with someone off screen, such as an interviewer or an audience. So, we know that this AI model is extremely capable, but does it require huge supercomputers to run in the cloud? Well, Microsoft have said that VESA 1 can generate video at a resolution of 512 by 512 at a frame rate of 45 frames per second in offline batch mode. It's also capable of generating 40 frames per second whilst streaming. That means that videos like this could be used in real time for video calls and live streaming. The hardware required to do this: a single NVIDIA RTX 4090. So yes, a very expensive graphics card. However, regardless of the price, this does put the tech firmly in the hands of home users, and these videos can be generated locally. The resolution, however, of 512 by 512 is very low, but perhaps just twice this resolution would be almost perfect if you think that, generally video calls often aren't full screen, and even an avatar for something like ChatGPT wouldn't be full screen either. It's also important to remember that this is just the first version shown. Future versions will likely be even more capable. Now, the footage obviously isn't perfect, and there's definitely some uncanny valley stuff going on here, and if you look really hard, or not even so hard, if you just look and you're aware that this is AI, then there's a lot of hints that things aren't quite right. But, first, for those potential misuses of this type of tech, keep in mind that many people aren't aware that AI is even capable of creating videos like this. And further, many people won't be looking for the cues and flaws in the footage. So that means this could very easily be misused. And then we can add into the fact that you can use videos of well-known people, famous people, or even use AI generation to create images of fake people. And then we have software like 11 Labs, which allows us to create artificial AI voices. It's a perfect combination, but a perfect storm, and not necessarily in a good way. On a final note on this then, Microsoft have indicated that this is purely a research tool, and they have no plans to release it to the public or to developers. In other news, Meta has launched a new website, Meta AI. This is currently available in select countries, which does include the US. Meta AI then is a free-to-use language model in the vein of ChatGPT. What's more, it doesn't require a login or an account to use, unless you want some of the more advanced features. The AI is based on Meta's newly released Llama 3, which is currently available in two versions, a 7 billion parameter model and a 70 billion parameter model. And if you're not familiar with those terms, think of parameters as rules that AI follows in order to process and create information. The more rules it has, the more parameters it has, the more complex and capable it is. Now, Meta's own benchmarks show that Llama 3 is the most capable AI of these sizes currently available, and over the next few days, it's very likely we'll see a lot of publicly created and community-created benchmarks to test just how true those claims are by Meta. Now, Meta is also planning on releasing a 400 billion parameter model of Llama 3, although that version is currently still in training. So, what is the big deal about Llama 3? This seems to have caused quite some waves. Well, it really comes down to the fact that Meta are pushing it in a very big way. As mentioned earlier, there's a new website, Meta AI, where you can interact with Llama 3, and here's some key features. You can talk to it with the same way you can chat with ChatGPT, and generally it seems to be very capable and can answer questions, write articles, and you can even have long conversations with it on just about any topic. It also has internet access, which means it can search the internet in real time, and that means its knowledge is always up to date, and you can ask it about the latest news, weather, or have it research complex subjects for you. It's also capable of generating images, although you need to actually be logged into Facebook in order to do this, but Meta AI is capable of image generation. And the way this feature works is actually pretty neat. It's super fast and will create the image for you in real time as you type out the prompt. And there's an example on the screen of me doing that as I actually talk. So Meta are pushing Llama 3 out on a whole load of different platforms, and we can see a list of those on the screen right here. But where it gets perhaps really interesting is that Meta AI is also available inside of WhatsApp. And yes, that includes the ability to generate images from directly inside of WhatsApp. Currently, it's only available in a limited number of countries, but that will increase over time. It should be obvious then at this point that Meta consider AI to be a massive part of the future, and they're pushing this out as much as they can. The fact it's open source is also pretty good news, because pretty much everyone out there will be able to take this and use it and enhance it and make improvements on it. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg himself has spoken about this just yesterday in a couple of different interviews available as podcasts, and I'll try and remember to link those in the video description. They're actually really interesting to watch. And he really does express his thoughts on open source AI. He thinks that is the way of the future. He feels that companies like Microsoft, although he doesn't name them specifically, shouldn't be controlling these platforms as closed source. He actually goes on and mentions examples such as Apple and Google having closed platforms on their respective phone systems or mobile systems, and that's something he really feels needs to be avoided for AI, and I can kind of understand that. But he also feels that will be ultimately beneficial for Meta as well, because they'll get all the improvements that the community iterates when they take these Llama models and improve upon them. Looking more towards the future, he also spoke about where some of the bottlenecks are going to be when it comes to future AI development, and it seems very much this is going to be in energy requirements. As we mentioned previously in a previous video, Microsoft are planning a new supercomputer called Stargate. This, by all accounts, is going to be a 5 gigawatt server farm. Currently, the largest data centers around about 100 to 150 megawatts, so going all the way up to 5 gigawatts is truly massive. And in real terms, that's basically the equivalent of powering 3.25 million houses. And yes, the data centers are going to need their own power sources to actually achieve this. And that's why Microsoft and other companies such as Meta, Amazon and Google are looking into either partnering with or developing their own nuclear power stations or other alternative energy sources. So the plans here are obviously really big. And another one of the bottlenecks here, of course, is regulation. It's one thing having regulation for software and an entirely different regulations when it comes to trying to build your own power sources, and this may hold up the future development of AI somewhat. But that said, it's all new territory, so we're just going to have to see how it all goes. Now moving on, we come to Adobe. Earlier this week, Adobe dropped a massive piece of news. Later this year, Premiere Pro will be getting a significant update that will include generative AI features, and this will dramatically enhance the capabilities of the editing software, making some previously complex and skilled tasks extremely simple. And that includes adding and removing objects from footage, but it also goes much further, including the ability to extend the length of footage, but by creating new frames, or even by changing the clothes of people in the footage. To do all of this, Adobe has teamed up with a bunch of third-party generative AI video companies, specifically Runway and Picker. And these are two companies that have been growing in popularity a lot over the previous year. But what was perhaps most surprising of all of this is that Adobe have also teamed up with OpenAI. Later this year then, Premiere Pro will also include functionality from OpenAI's infamous video model Sora. And this is the first time we have heard anything about when and where Sora will be available for public use. It's still unclear on how OpenAI plan on rolling out Sora to a wider user base. Will it be available in the same manner as ChatGPT and DALL-E, or will it remain available only to a limited areas, such as being built into tools such as Premiere Pro? Either way, this announcement is certainly a big deal for video editors. It means that creators are going to be able to do a lot more work on their own. They won't necessarily have to farm work out or hand work out or find assistants to help them, because they'll be able to do it very easily all inside Premiere Pro. But this, represents both good news as well as bad news, doesn't it? Because obviously, if the experts aren't needed to do these services anymore, then it's going to be very disruptive and not too fair on the people who actually make a living and who have trained up in doing these type of tasks themselves. It seems Adobe are very keenly aware of the power and potential of generative AI, both as a disruptive technology as well as a beneficial technology, and they're slowly starting to include it in all of their tools. It's available in Photoshop, it's going to be available in Premiere Pro very soon, and we've seen them using artificially generated music in Adobe Audition. Ultimately, that means the AI development in the generative sense is moving very, very fast now, and it's starting to get implemented into a whole variety of different apps and different services, both with what we've seen today with Adobe as well as the Meta platform, and it's, I guess, really moving ahead of regulations at this point. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about all of this in the comment section below. Do you think it's a great new technology to see all of this happening at such a rapid pace, or do you think it really needs to slow down somewhat? Let me know in the comment section below. That then brings us to the end of this video. There is another one linked on the screen right here if you'd care to watch that as well. Otherwise, take care, and thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.